Hi, Soundies. Welcome to our sound and video session. Today is the 23rd of November, 2025. It's gone quickly. It's good to see you all here. Hope you're all doing well. Here is our agenda for today. This was a pretty exciting week. Lots going on, and sounds like it was for some of the rest of you as well. And we're going to finish a video. I'm going to just kind of take you behind the scenes and show you what I'm working on here, and we'll finish it up. So I happen to have well, I'll come back to that in just a minute. This is a workshop which goes along with our courses over at school.learnlightandsound.com. Of course, we have the Discord. If you want to kind of have a discussion, join in the discussion, I guess I should say, here in our little community. And I will just grab the link for that right now and post that.
To be clear, that's the discussion, not during the live stream.
Danny clarified that's a discussion that we just carry on outside of the live stream. We've got the live chat here on YouTube for this live stream. The discussion is for after the live stream and every other time. So here is the Discord link if you haven't joined already. There we go. Should be there in the chat. Okay. I have a few new lights in here, and you might ask, what does this, Curtis, have to do with sound for video? Well, many of us have to do video as well. And a good sound person understands video deeply enough to be able to understand where the people that are working on the video part of productions are coming from and how we can work together. So maybe that's a stretch, but in today, Danny's raising.
Keep going.
Oh.
But when you finish that.
So Amaran is a company that makes lights for creators, as they say. They have a new line of lights called the Ray, and Amaran is kind of a more affordable line of lights. It's made that are not made to be quite as tough for like location productions and things like that. So they're a little bit more affordable, but they still have a lot of really great features and really good color quality, for example. So that's the video I'm working on. We did not have any questions that were submitted ahead of time, but we'll be checking in with the chat throughout the live stream here. So
just a couple of introductory stuff. So this is reassuring. This weather report is reassuring.
We have a reassuring weather report. Aloha from Hawaii. No snow yet. Thank you, Hugo.
Yeah. So
great news. I hope it stays that way. Well, I mean, I guess it doesn't it snow on top of the volcano? Maybe. Okay.
And this.
FYI, we're up 128 members on Discord, and there's some healthy discussions going there. And in fact, an interesting one from the, let's see here. There's one on someone doing some problem solving. Marching Band Dad is getting some interference, and we're kind of trying to work through that together. So in any case, lots of fun stuff there if you're interested. Okay. Let's go on over to the Mac here, and let me just show you where I'm at here. I'll walk you through the post, and you can see here kind of our whole post-production workflow. So we do things in a couple steps, and when I say we, it's mainly Emma and I. So I do my research. I use the Notes app on Mac. I'm sorry it's so tiny, you probably can't read it, and that's fine. You don't need to see the details, but I make all my notes, and when I sit down to record, I use these notes here to present. So I don't have a word-for-word script. I actually have my notes, and I want it to be more like a conversation, and indeed it is, and has its pluses and its minuses. But then after I've done that, I give the video footage and the audio clips to Emma. She first takes the audio, and she cleans it up a little bit, so she takes care of any annoyances in my voice, like sibilance or mouth clicks, heavy breaths between phrases, all those kinds of things. She cleans that up, and then she normalizes it, depending on the video we're doing. In this case, it's a lighting video, so she normalized it to -17 LUFS. And then after she's done that, she brings in the audio and video to DaVinci Resolve, and she does her first edit, and you can see all the cuts that she made. We have a 17-minute and 20-second video in this case, so we're going pretty deep. and she had to make a lot of cuts. And rather than, and I know on YouTube, jump cuts are kind of it's a genre. It's okay on YouTube to do jump cuts. I try to avoid them because I want to have a kind of a smoother narrative, and I want to also be able to show what I'm talking about. So what we do is once Emma's done that cut, she will come into the Notes app and she'll make a B-roll list, all the footage that we need to add so we can show things, which also serves the ancillary purpose of covering up some of those jump cuts so it's not so jarring an experience. So then we have a bunch of B-roll that we've shot. We've cut some of it in. You can see we're about, we're not even quite halfway yet, are we? No, not quite. We're coming up to about 8 minutes, so almost halfway. And then we cut all of that in, and that's how we kind of finish things off. Then when we're done, of course, we come over here to the Deliver tab and we export it. That's the general kind of high-level look at how we approach this. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cutting in B-roll while we chat through things here. You're welcome to ask questions in the chat. We'll pause every few minutes. This is an opportunity for me to kind of just show my thought process when I'm doing this. And I have lowered the audio somewhat because it was normalized to minus 17 LUFS. Our live stream is usually coming out somewhere around minus 23. So I've dropped the level a little bit here so that when I play back the video here in DaVinci Resolve, it won't, you won't have to go diving for the volume knob to turn it down. So that's where we're at. Let's go ahead and pick it up right here. So I'm in the process right now of talking about these lights are IP54 rated, and I'm talking about what that means. IP stands for ingress protection. It's an IEC rating that different products manufacturers give their devices. So for example, when you go buy a phone, they'll say IP67 rated. And we're kind of talking through what exactly that means, and that's what we're showing here. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in and see where we're at and see what we need next on the line. So here we go. Air it out for, I don't know, 6 hours, and you're probably going to be just fine. So that's fantastic. In terms of controlling the light, obviously there are controls on the light itself, but you can also control it via their Bluetooth app. Okay, so I'm going to go find that footage. I know we have some of that, and we have some in our original hero shot, and we also have, I think that's actually where we have it. Oh no, it's here. It's in the NF Sync End app. So I double click that. That puts it here so that I can scrub through it. So I'm going to scrub through and find the spots I'm looking for. Okay, so this is demonstrating the near field capability, so I can sync there. So I'm going to press I to choose my endpoint. Now I have a problem. Look at that glare on the screen. That's no good. So what I'm going to do instead, we'll come back to the NFC, and at some point I realize there's glare on my screen. There, I think about here. So we'll choose our endpoint here instead. And we're showing the app. So we'll just grab a bunch of it, choose O for our out point, and I'm just going to grab the video, not the audio. So I click this icon here, and we'll bring that right down here. I'm going to zoom in, Command plus. All right, so let's play this back and see where we'll kind of fine tune the position. Obviously, there are controls on the light itself. We could show that as well, but it'd be really quick. Obviously, there are. One of the things I try to do is when I make a cut to B-roll, I don't want there to be these, like, I often will look off camera first and then for a beat and then cut to B-roll. Or I don't want to cut in the middle of a blink or anything like that. That looks odd. So controls on the light itself. See how that plays. Obviously, there are controls on the light itself, but let's go earlier. In terms of controlling the light, obviously there are controls on. Whoop, right at the blink, not good. Controlling the light, obviously there are controls on the light itself, but you can also control it via their Bluetooth app. Take it back. I actually do want to get the controls, so let's come back up to our media pool. Come into the hero. Okay, somewhere in here, set the endpoint. I just need a short clip in and out. Something like this. That's fantastic. In terms of controlling the light, obviously there are... In terms of controlling the light, obviously there... In terms of controlling the light, obviously there... In terms of controlling the light, obviously there's kind of that awkward blink, but we'll go with that. Whoops, undo. Okay, I can option down arrow to drop that down into this lane. And let's see how this plays. In terms of controlling the light, obviously there are controls on the light itself, but you can't... You know, I don't even need to cut to me, so we'll just fill that whole thing in. So that's fantastic. In terms of controlling the light, obviously there are controls on the light itself, but you can also control it via their Bluetooth app, the Amaran app. Okay, so another thing that we do that's a little bit unique is that we use a 2:1 aspect ratio on our videos. So when I film the B-roll, I'm actually shooting it in 4K DCI, which is like 4096 by 3840, I think, something like that. So it's not true 2:1, so I do have to fill the frame. So what I do is I actually cut some of it. I come down here, choose the clip, go into lens, no, it's retime and scaling, and it's already set to fill. So if it wasn't set to fill, it would look like that. So see how it's not covering the bars at the left and right? So what we do is we sacrifice a little bit of the vertical resolution, and so that fills in our 2:1 aspect ratio. So that's one other thing that I'm doing too, and watching for too. Sometimes I forget to do that, and I don't want to publish the video with those bars there. So, okay, we'll keep going here. But you can also control it via their Bluetooth app, the Amaran app, which is on iOS and Android. It's a great app. You can control a whole bunch of lights, and they've done a couple of things that make it even easier to use. One of the things I've always been frustrated with on Bluetooth apps, control apps, is that sometimes it takes forever to reconnect to the lights or to connect to the lights in the first place and to get things set up. And especially if you're doing a complex lighting design with a lot of different lights. In this case, they've made it super. Okay, here's where we can drop in that NFC clip. So we'll come back here. It was earlier. It's about right here in. Out. We'll grab that, drop that down here. We've got the little arrows that show us when those are lined up. Good. Option down arrow. Connect to the lights or to connect to the lights in the first place and to get things set up. And especially if you're doing a complex lighting design with a lot of different lights. In this case, they've made it super simple. So it has NFC pairing, so you can just literally hold your phone. I kind of want to wait to show it till I'm talking about it. So we'll do something more like this. Maybe like this. Let's see how that plays. Connect to the lights in the first place and to get things set up. And especially if you're doing a complex lighting design with a lot of different lights. In this case, they've made it super simple. So it has NFC pairing, so you can just literally hold your phone up to the light. That pairs it immediately so that you're all set to go. And you can even use the NFC if the light is off. It doesn't even have to be on. So if you have a bunch of lights set out, you can just literally take your app on the phone, NFC next to each of them, and you're connected to all three of them. Then you can go set them up and you can control them from your phone or mobile. See what I mean by the jarring nature of jump cuts? That's what I'm trying to manage. And show, more importantly, show what we're talking about. What I don't have is a clip of NFC pairing with a bunch of different lights. So let's come back to that footage again. There we go. Let's see what else we've got here. I think it failed the first time I tried to NFC pair it. Yeah, there was a failure there for, I don't know why. And then it worked, and then I just go into controlling it. Do I go back to NFC? No, I don't. So I don't have any more NFC footage. So now we go into problem solving mode. What do we do next? We can We can probably just show more of this. Just keep showing the app. Maybe start. I think this is where I go into the effects. So we can come in here. So mark the endpoint. Mark the out point there, grab that. So I've got quite a bit to cover here. Let's see how this plays. Have to be on. So if you have a bunch of lights set out, you can just literally take your app on the phone, NFC next to each of them, and you're connected to all three of them. Then you can go set them up and you can control them from your phone or mobile device. Fantastic. As I mentioned before, it is DMX capable, but it's not built in. And I think this is a really important thing. So there are a lot of corporate people that are corporate video people that are using aperture lights. But the newest generation. Okay, so I've moved on to talking about DMX, but the fact is that I don't have. There's a DMX essentially adapter that you have to buy to use with these lights. This is an example of how these lights are made more for, and I use air quotes, creators that generally aren't working with DMX control surfaces or apps or anything like that. But they do enable you to do that. And in fact, what we have here is we have, where is it here? Color engine, DMX adapter. So, whoops. We've got a shot of it here, just a still image. That's a close-up of it. So I'm going to somehow find a way to cut those in here. So let's go back and figure out where we want to put those in. Lights set out, you can just literally take your app on the phone, set them up, and you can control them from your phone or mobile device. Fantastic. As I mentioned before, it is. Okay, so we're going to make a cut somewhere right in here as I start this next sentence about DMX. Delete there. Fantastic. As I mentioned before, it is DMX capable, but it's not built in. And I think this is this is when I can actually show this. So I'll just grab this and I want to leave a space underneath it. You can see it's got transparency. So we need to put a background behind it so it's not a big floating DMX adapter in front of my face, which is charming in all sorts of ways, but not what we want. So I've got, if I come here to effects and then to generators, I can just get this solid color, drop that in the thing down behind it, and you can see it's already black. It's perfect. It's exactly what we need. So we're good there. Let's keep going and see where this takes us. Built in. And I think this is a really important thing. So there are a lot of corporate people that are corporate video people that are. And I'm going to go ahead and title it because this is kind of like out of the blue. Like, oh, wait, there's this floating thing. What is this thing? So let's actually give it a title. And I actually want to scale it down. I think we're sitting, it's a little bit much. So I want to give myself some room as far as putting a title as well. And we can position it as well. So we can kind of move it out of the way there. And then we come back over to effects, to titles. We're going to grab the text and drop that right up on top here. And let's go ahead and set that up. So with our text selected, this is an, add on DMX, I should say USB-C to DMX adapter. Okay, there we go. Now a couple things are, and I use air quotes here, our brand font is actually different. So we'll type in H. This is, H. Harbara. And then of course we want to position that. So we'll come to settings and move that up. There we go. Okay, see how that plays. Built in. And I think this is a really important thing. So there are a lot of corporate people that are corporate video people that are using aperture lights. But the newest generation, as they move up market, they're getting kind of expensive and we don't necessarily have those budgets to work with. So this is really nice because I get the best. Here, I'm going to probably just make sure these are all the same length. They are. we can do a couple things. I could actually switch, and I'll do that. I'll switch and show adapter 1, which shows it actually mounted on the light. And let's see how that plays. Whoop. Again, we're going to want to reduce the size of the image and probably move it down, maybe like that. Let's see how that goes. So there are a lot of corporate people that are corporate video people that are using aperture lights. But the newest generation, as they move up market, they're getting kind of expensive, and we don't necessarily have those budgets to work with. So this is really nice because I get the best of both worlds. I'm not paying for the DMX capabilities if I don't need them. And if I'm going on location, and I would feel confident going on location with the Ray 660 and the 330. I haven't looked as closely at the smaller ones yet, but I also have a problem because I called it the Ray 330 throughout the entire video. It's actually a 360. I corrected that earlier on with a little annotation. But here I have another cut that's a little awkward. 60 and the 330. I haven't looked as closely at the smaller ones yet, but probably feel pretty comfortable with that as well. But I'm not having to pay for. Okay, so what I do know I have is a shot. Let's see, it's like the whole family. Ray family, here it is. Yay for the Ray family. Okay. There's me awkwardly holding up the softbox in the background. I don't know. Maybe we'll just take the start here. So we'll mark in here before I come in the frame. Out there. Grab just the video. Let's see how this plays. The Ray 660 and the 330. I haven't looked as closely at the. Here's an example where I need to go and fix the scaling to fill. There we go. The Ray 660 and the 330. I haven't looked as closely at the smaller ones yet, but probably feel pretty comfortable with that as well. But I want to adjust the positioning here so it's cutting off kind of close to some of the things we're trying to show. So back up here in the inspector, we'll change it. Whoops. I get about 50 pixels to work with here. That should do. Okay. I'm not having to pay for DMX if I don't need it. And I'm not going to need it when I'm on location generally. And for those that are not familiar with what DMX is, now traditionally DMX is a wired standard by which you can control lights. So you can do it wired, and now you can do it wirelessly as well. But the idea is that I can have a light board in my studio or in a theater and be able to control all the lights from the light board. Very cool. Okay, going on and on about DMX. I did set this up in a studio where I did want to get it into a DMX system. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm just going to put a marker in here. And on this marker, I am going to say DMX board. I'm going to come back and have to take care of that later. I need some more footage. So keep going. I want to get it into a DMX system. I could go with that adapter. Now, one clever thing they've done across the Ray lineup is include this new knob that they call flow turn. Have you ever, and many of us have done it, if you've used a... Okay, so I'm going to show flow turn here. I know we have some of that in the hero shot. Okay, so what flow turn is that you can spin the control dial and it'll detect the momentum of the knob and continue to change that setting until you tap your finger on it again and it stops it. It's kind of a cool feature, actually. I quite like it. So let's go ahead and drop that. I don't remember the exact spot. Just tune it here. Set this up in a studio where I did want to get it into a DMX system. I could go with that adapter. Now, okay, so it's going to be, the adapter will be showing and I can show float. So I'll have actually we can bring that adapter back in. So let's go like this. What I can do is highlight all of those, hold down Option, and I can bring an instance of that over here. And in this case, I don't need the first one. I can just go like this. So it'll play like this. So if I did set this up in a studio where I did want to get it into a DMX system, I could go with that adapter. Now, okay, then end it about here. We could actually have highlighted all those and pulled them in together. If you do this, you can move them all together, which is cool. Final Cut does not allow you to do that. Shame on you, Final Cut. I could go with that adapter. Now, one clever thing they've done across the... I want to tune that a little bit more. Again, pull these in. I like to cut right as I'm kind of first word or two into the next sentence. It gives it kind of a flow. That adapter. Now, one clever thing... It's a little bit of a weird head move there. Adapter. Now, one clever thing they've done across the Ray lineup is include this new knob that they call Flow Turn. Have you ever, and many of us have done it, if you've used a light and you're changing you're in HSI mode and you're... Okay, I'm gonna have to color grade that because it's hard to see, but if I come in here, I can color grade it now. You can see we're running up really hot up against, close to the top here. So I'm gonna take the gain and probably pull that down some, make it a little easier to see. We'll start there. We'll come and do another pass on color grading. Changing the color hue. You're turning and turning and turning and turning and turning the knob until you get to where you want to be. It's not that big of a deal, but this is super cool. With the Flow Turn knob, I can just spin it and it keeps going on its own. It's motorized, and I just tap it with my finger when I want it to stop in the general area where I want it to stop, and then I can fine tune it by just turning it back to where I want it. So it's actually surprisingly useful. I really like it. I think that was a very clever addition to the Ray lineup. This light, of course, has all four of these lights have Bowens mounts. Okay. We're moving on to Bowens mounts, so I'm going to pull up my blade tool, cut there, delete this tail. This light, of course, has all four. Give it another beat. This light, of course, has all four of these lights have Bowens mounts with a new line of light modifiers optimized for the rays. So here, for example, I am using the... do we have a shot? We have a shot of the Bowens mount. We will go get that. Again, it's in the hero. What's that?
And then after that, let's do questions.
Okay, yeah, we're going to do this, and then we'll get some questions in the hero shot. No, I don't. I do have... Oh, well, I can use this. This is good. Okay, in point, out point. Of course, has all four of these lights have Bowens mounts with a new line of light modifiers optimized for the rays. So here, for example, and I'll cut here, blade, delete the tail, and let's go get the behind the scenes shot. Here's what I'm talking about. Yeah, so there's in. We'll take it out here, drop this in. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the main camera and let's check in on the chat and see how we're doing there. Y'all with me? Cogmission 1 asks, so does the Blair CG only exist in the C suffixed versions? That's my understanding, yes. So for those that are not familiar with this, let's go, give me just a second here to go back. Actually, I can pull it up here. Okay, so Aperture now has 3 different light engines in their most recent editions of their Aperture and Amaran. At some point, they're both owned by the same parent company, and they work together and share technologies and so on and so forth. But they have 3 different lighting engines. Omnicolor is what's in the Ray, and it mixes. It has 2 reds, it has a green, blue, an indigo, and then it has a soft white, which includes sort of a tungsten-y color and a lime. So it has all those different color emitters on the chip on board, and it mixes them to make all the different colors, both for the, even if you're in CCT mode and you're just doing a talking head, it mixes those colors to create that. And it also, when you're in full RGB mode or HSI mode, which is hue, saturation, intensity mode, it mixes, it outputs different amounts from each of these LEDs to create that color. Blair does a similar thing. It mixes, red, amber, lime, blue, and indigo. That's where they get the Blair, BLAIR. And then there's Blair CG, which also has, which it uses a kind of a different mix of colors on its color engine. So Blair CG, there's a trade-off here, and you can actually see this in the chart. So the one that can output the most light is actually the Omnicolor. In fact, when I compare the 660C to the Aperture 400X, the Aperture 400X uses the Blair engine. The 660C uses the Omnicolor engine. The benefit of Omnicolor is it can output more light, just more photons are coming out. The advantage of Blair is that it outputs a pretty good amount of light, but its spectrum is quite good. It's actually better than the Omnicolor engine. So you can see they're rating it with stars here. This is marketing material, but you get the point. The Blair CG is not able to put out nearly as much light, but it shines big time when it comes to color quality. It is able to really produce some very clean, quality spectral output that matches tungsten and matches daylight very, very well. So that's kind of the whole trade-off of all of these. But that's a great question. Hopefully that answers it. Monogoyo, thank you so much for the super chat. Many long-form social media videos. I'm noticing a crazy use of jump cuts. Overuse is a curse these days, not your videos, just in general. Thank you so much for the super chat. I think there is a time and a place for jump cuts. It kind of became a thing with the vlog style. When the vlog style was born, it seemed like jump cuts made that vlog style videos made jump cuts cool and feel energetic and frenetic. Time and a place for that. But I feel like when you're doing education or reviews, to me, I try to avoid them somewhat, mostly. Thank you for noticing. Sheriff Vlogs, did you switch from Final Cut Pro to Adobe Audition to DaVinci Resolve? No. Well, different. Well, there's a kind of an evolution there. So you actually Adobe Audition, not Premiere. I was thinking Premiere when I read that the first time. I was using originally when I started my video career, I was using Premiere and Audition. Then I switched to Final Cut and Audition and Isotope RX. And now at work, at Webflow, I use Premiere and DaVinci Resolve and Audition sometimes and Isotope RX. Now for the videos on my YouTube channel, we're now using DaVinci Resolve. For the most part, we're still using Isotope RX, but we do not use Audition at home. I do not have a personal license for Audition anymore. I have one at work at Webflow, but not here. So complicated, but we're finding DaVinci Resolve is definitely at a point where I feel like we can use it pretty reliably. I think Fairlight has a few issues with it still, but for the most part, it's usable. Yeah, reliable enough for production use. Christopher, have you experimented with breaking your videos into separate timelines for subsections and then a master timeline of timeline? Audio seems to get wonky when I do that. I do not do that. No, we keep it simple. And our videos, this is a long one for us, 17 minutes. Usually I try to keep them around 10, but no, I usually just keep them all in one timeline. So, yeah. I'm interested, Christopher, are you editing in Resolve as well? I'm just curious where the audio seems to get wonky for you. Maybe try the smooth cut transition for one of the jump cuts instead of a B-roll shot. Yeah, you can do that. We've had mixed luck with it. It works if it's pretty close, but if sometimes it's just hit and miss. We can try it. We can try it. Audio Buff, I've just downloaded Resolve and working on making the switch from iMovie. Hashtag overwhelmed. Yeah, there's a lot going on in there, Audio Buff. Hopefully these little tutorials are helping a little bit with that. Christopher says to Audio Buff, one thing that made Resolve work a lot better for me was I bought their keyboard, mainly for the jog wheel, which you can also get a simpler version with the speed editor. Yeah, that can be helpful because the keys then will tell you how to get to stuff, or where stuff is, and you learn the keyboard shortcuts pretty quickly. There are also some third-party ones as well. There was a company I saw at NAB that had a really nice Resolve keyboard as well. I don't remember the name of the company, but there are third-party options out there if you're interested. Okay, first, before we go back, it's hydration time. Everybody go get a good sip of water or your beverage of choice. Okay, let's go back and let's see where we're at. Oh, wait. Christopher, I edit in Resolve. Yes, gets wonky when sub-timelines have different audio tracks. It tries to jam them into the wrong audio channels. Ooh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about when I say there's still some rough edges in Resolve, especially when it comes to Fairlight. Yeah, but what they've achieved is pretty phenomenal. But yeah, it's still got some rough edges like that. I would think the way, if you go to the Blackmagic site, and this is not a criticism of Blackmagic, don't take it wrong. I am fully invested in Blackmagic. I have the studio version of Resolve. I have a ridiculously expensive $3,000 control panel that Danny's using to switch this live stream. We're using their ATEM Mini ISO Extreme. We're using their $500 HD, what do they call them? Hyperdecks, so I can play the little waveforms. Could you go back to the agenda? These waveforms in the background right here. That's why I have the $500 Hyperdeck to play those. We have the Fairlight desktop console, which is another, I don't remember, $3,000. I'm not criticizing Blackmagic, but when you go to their site, you would think that 50% of the movies, theatrical releases that are coming to theaters near you were edited in Resolve, and that's not the case at all. Even color grading, I haven't checked in as recently on color grading, so I don't know what they're using in the large finishing houses for the large budget movies at this point. But even Resolve wasn't being used that much back when I checked a few years ago. It could be different now, and also Production Expert did not that it's perfect sampling, don't get me wrong, but they did a little survey recently of all the people that work in post. They asked, which DAW are you using? And DaVinci Resolve was almost none. So that's okay. Also, the master timeline from Christopher says, if you use things like Resolve's noise isolation and other plugins in the master, they don't apply to the sub-timelines. Yeah, I think there's still some work to be done, in short. Okay. Let's head on back and, oh, we have more. Sheriff, why not use Avid Pro Tools and Media Composer? Well, because I'm not working in a vacuum. So in corporate video, and specifically I'm in education video, all of my team is using Premiere. I'm the only one at work that uses Resolve right now. We have 2 producers and 2 editors. All 4 of them use Premiere as their first choice. So that's part of the reason. There's cost is involved as well. We have an Adobe license, a corporate or an enterprise license already, so Premiere is kind of an obvious choice there. Yeah, I think that the industry, if you are talking about large budget films, they are on Avid Media Composer and Pro Tools for the most part still today, as I understand it. So that's where most of that type of work is being done. I don't have aspirations to work in that part of the industry. So I'm not investing right there. I did have a Pro Tools license for a time, but I found that I was pulled in too many directions. I try to be multilingual, so I know Final Cut, I know Premiere, I know DaVinci Resolve, I know Fairlight, I know Audition. I can barely get my way around in Pro Tools and barely get my way around in Logic, but there comes a point where you have to kind of focus some. So that's where my mind is at. Okay, cool. All right, we have a little more time. Let's go do some more editing. So where did we leave off? Here we are. Arrays. So here, for example, I am using the Octabox 120. So it's a 120 centimeter Octabox. I want to trim that so that, well, let's play through and see what I'm saying and how much coverage I need. And it's really well built. Aperture and Amaran have so many generations of experience building these types of things. Sets up and breaks down really quickly and easily, and it seems quite durable. I think it's going to be just great. The Ray 660. Okay, so we're just going to cut. That's actually not bad. That's going to work for us. We'll cut about here. Oh, look at that pontification face. Great. The Ray 660, actually Ray 660 and the 330 have their power supplies integrated into the heads, so you don't have an extra. Okay, I think we have a shot for this. Oh, hey, we have an onboard controls shot as well. We've got lots of options. Thank you, Emma. Oh, here's a float. Here's another flow turn video. Okay. Actually, let's look at that one. That one might be better. It's a little easier to read. Actually, I'm going to go back and put that one in. That is better. Thank you, Emma. It might not be long enough, but let's see what we get. I bring this and just put it down here. Somehow, magically, she already has it set to fill. Thank you. Up is include this new knob that they call flow turn. Have you ever, and many of us have done it, if you've used a light and you're changing you're in HSI mode and you're changing the color hue, you're turning and turning and turning and turning and turning the knob until you get to where you want to be. It's not that big of a deal, but this is super cool. With the flow turn knob, I can just spin it and it keeps going on its own. It's motorized. And I just tap it with my finger when I want it to stop in the general area where I want it to stop, and then I can fine tune it by just turning it back to where I want it. So it's actually surprisingly useful. I really like it. I think that was a very clever addition to the Ray lineup. This light, of course, has all 4 of these. Emma could not have timed it better. Amazing. In fact, let's see if we want to go back to the talking head at all, because we kind of sit for a while. Like it. I think that was a very clever addition to the Ray lineup. This light, of course, has all 4 of these lights have bow.
You need to send her a super chat.
What's that?
You need to send Emma a super chat.
Yeah, Denny says we should send Emma a super chat, so we'll have to do that as soon as we're done here. Good job, Emma. This light, of course, has all 4. This light, of course, has all 4 of these. This light, of course, has all. Oop, there's a blink. This light, of course, has. This light, of course, has all four of these lights have Bowens mounts with a new line of light modifiers optimized for the rays. So here, for example, I am using, okay, we've already gone through this, so let's jump ahead. The Ray 660, actually Ray 660 and the 330 have their power supplies integrated. Okay, this is where we were. So power, no power box, boom. Let's see what she did here. Ah, that works. Does some hand modeling there for us. Very good. Thank you. Let's see where I cut it in. Ray 660, actually Ray 660 and a 330. No, Ray 660 and a 330 have their power supplies integrated into the heads, so you don't have an extra power brick. You just have an IEC cable from the light head to your AC mains. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Amaran, for that. So we don't have that extra power brick lying around and having to manage. On the smaller light, okay, let's go back to the start. We might need to come in. So we're going to put our playhead here. Well, we could use a different tool, of course. We could use this one, I believe. No, this is where I'm not as strong in Resolve. Surely there's a tool here where I can essentially slip, but I don't know how to use it, so this is what we're still learning. Turn that off. 60 and a 330 have their power supplies integrated. Okay, I want to cut in here, but I want it to start when she's pulling up all the cable, I think. Somewhere around there. So let's see how this plays. 60 and a 330 have their power supplies integrated into the heads, so you don't have an extra power brick. You just have an IEC cable from the light head to your AC mains. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Amaran, for that. So we don't have that extra power brick lying around and having to manage. On the smaller light, okay. Couple things. I need to keep listening here because I think we're switching over to talk about the smaller lights, which do have power bricks, and I'm not sure I want to go there. On the smaller lights, and if you're interested, let me know in the comments down below. We could do a review on those as well, the 60 and the 120. They have these little adapters, or like handle adapters. We'll talk about it. They do have power bricks, but they have a way to manage them, so we'll come back to that. There is also a high frame rate mode. Okay. So I have to make a couple decisions here. In the 120, they have these little adapters. I have to decide if I want to keep that part in there where I talk about the smaller lights, because this is really not a review of those. And if I do, I have to go get some additional B-roll so I can show that. But let's just see where I'm at here and see how it works to cut it all together. Cable from the light head to your AC mains. That is beautiful. Thank you. And actually, I'm going to speed this up a little bit, so I'm going to change the clip speed. Let's go to maybe 120. And a 330 have their power supplies integrated into the heads, so you don't have an extra power brick. You just have an IEC cable from the light head to your AC mains. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Amaran, for that. So we don't have that extra power brick lying around and having to manage. On the smaller lights, and if lying around and having to manage. On the small... Okay, let's just try something. Let's go in here. They have these little adapters, or like handle adapters. We'll talk about it. They do have power bricks, but they have a way to manage them, so we'll come back to that. There is also a high frame rate mode. Okay, so let's out here. I marked in and out. Shift delete. Get rid of this B-roll. Let's see how this plays. Brick lying around and having to manage. There is also a high frame rate mode. Okay, it's weirdness with the breath, but have their power supply to your AC mains. That is beautiful. Thank you so much, Amaran, for that. So we don't have that extra power brick lying around and having to manage. There is also a high... Okay, so I think we can make this work, but we need to manage. Kind of a nose breath, weird. Manage. I think all I need to do really is cut just a couple frames here. So in, right, maybe just one out, shift delete. That's a ripple delete. Around and having to manage. There is also a high, that sounds a little smoother. We'll do that. Frame rate mode that supports 1/1000th of a second shutter speeds for photographers or 240 frames per second for video. So essentially what you do is you lock it into HFR mode, which makes it so that you can't reduce the light output below 50%. And it's usually on the LED lights when you get below a certain percentage, where they start to use something called pulse width modulation in most cases. And the idea with that is that your eye can't see it, but they're essentially turning the LEDs on and off very quickly to output less light. That's how they can do it. That's how they essentially dim them. So that's what they do there. So what that means is that you can film at much higher frame rates or shutter speeds if you're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other LED light. Is it advanced science? No, they're just locking it to 50% or higher. But it's a cool setting. In terms of price, okay, so we've got a lot to cover on Flickr. Boy, what was I thinking? Sometimes I just go on and on and on. Danny's rolling her eyes right now. And I don't think, I have a shot, I'm pretty sure, of switching to high frame rate mode, but I don't have anything beyond that. So I'm probably going to need to shoot that. Let me just see if we've got, here we go, HFR mode. Yeah, we have just a little bit to cover there. So we'll get Emma kind of moving. Oh, wow. Got some funny plumbing noise in this one. So we'll go to the endpoint there. She turned on the high frame rate. Turned it off. And then just did that. Okay, so this is just, we'll just have her turn it on in this case. On, okay, out there. So there's our out point. Let's cue it up down here where we want to be. There is also a high frame rate mode that supports 1/1000th of a second shutter speeds for photographers or 240. Okay, so what I can do is pull that down to cover this. Somewhere around here. Second shutter speeds for photographers or 240 shutter speeds for photographers. Ugh. Shutter speeds for photographers. Blinks, working on the blink. Shutter speeds for photographers or 240 frames per second for video. So essentially what you do is you lock it into HFR mode, which makes it so that you can't reduce the light output below 50%. And it's usually on the LED lights when you get below a certain percentage, where they start to use something called pulse width modulation in most cases. And the idea with that is that your eye can't see it, but they're essentially turning the LEDs on and off very quickly to output less light. That's how they can do it. That's how they essentially dim them. So that's what they do there. So what that means is that you can film at much higher frame rate. Okay, so I have a couple options. I can come back here, so this is our endpoint, what was previously our out point, and show Emma turning it off. You can hear the hard drives in the background. Out, okay. This can at least get us across this span here. Whoops. So that's what they do there. Essentially dim them. I'm doing a lot of looking down here. Can do it. That's how they essentially dim them. So that's what they do there. So what that means is that you can film at much higher frame rates or shutter speeds if you're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other LED light. All right. Christopher, I don't know where that smooth cut is. I've used that in Premiere before, but I don't know where it is here. I wonder if it's under effects. Fusion effects, audio effects, video transitions. I mean, you could always do the good old-fashioned cross dissolve, which that's kind of cheap trick. Or is it in the inspector? Smooth cut? I don't know. Christopher, if you happen to know, let us know in the chat. It's in the video transitions under effects. And is it this smooth cut or is it something else?
Oh.
Let's try it. See what happens. Speeds if you're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other. Whoa. Heavy, whatever that is. Speeds if you're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other LED light. I don't know if it's in the background rendering or what, if that's not it. Christopher, help. Towards the top, the one that says, oh, it is a smooth cut. Okay. All right. Well, let's just drop it on there. I'm going to shorten it up. And let's give it some, I don't know if how Resolve works, if it renders it in the background or how that goes. Let's see what happens here. Doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other LED. Yeah, give it some time. You're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't seen on any other LED light.
Here's another comment.
What's up? Oh, when you first add it, it takes it a bit for Resolve to calculate it. Okay, cool. We'll let it sit, simmer. There you go. Right. Is it advanced science? No, they're just locking it to 50% or higher. But that's it's a cool setting. In terms of price, the 660 comes in at $699. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go get a shot of the pricing page at Amaran, so we can a screen capture of that. Okay, and then I'll come back and finish that. So let's zoom back out, Shift C. We still have a fair bit more to cover, but it's probably a good place to take a pause here because we're just about out of time here. And Danny has a few things in the chat she wants to bring up here. Sip of water. Oh, wait. DJV Photography. It's Daniel, I believe. I have the tangent element panels kit that I use with Resolve. Awesome. Third party. Christopher, how long would you say it typically takes to edit one of your main channel videos? If they're closer to 10 minutes, if you include the audio mix, it really depends. They vary quite a bit, but I would say on the short end, 3 hours. On the long, that includes the audio mix. That includes cutting in all the storyline edit, cutting in all the B-roll, exporting. There's some other things too. For example, Emma's already done it for this one, but we also we run the finished video back into Resolve and have it transcribe it and then manually go through and fix all the errors that it made in its AI transcription. So we do that. Obviously, she has to make a thumbnail, but just the edit itself, anywhere from 3 hours. This one's been longer. I'd say this one's going to be closer to almost 8 hours for the edit. No power brick? Sold. Makes a huge difference on set. That's why the aperture lights have their control boxes or ballasts. They're not technically ballasts, I don't think, but they have a little stand adapter so you can put them on your C-stand. But yeah, even nicer to not even have that. It is Daniel. Hello, Daniel. Glad you could join us today. You'll need to change your playback resolution to half for it to play back correctly. Okay, that's good tip. So I would do that up here in the top somewhere. Or is that in the project settings? In video monitoring, maybe? I'm not sure where that is. Oh, here it is. Oh no, those are video data levels. That's different. Oh, we've got them rendering to ProRes 422 HQ, so that's probably part of it. In any case, thanks for the tip there, Mark. Why Danny does not have a microphone? Because she chooses not to today. I set one up for her last week and she says, "What's this for?" And I said, "It's in case you want to talk." She said, "I don't want to talk." She said it's mostly because when she does talk to me, it's mostly kind of background, helping me manage the flow of the show. That's the main idea. Under playback. Oh, okay, cool. So if we go back to the Mac here real quick, under playback. Oh, here we go. Half resolution. Now if we zoom back in. Where was that cut? There it is. Okay, let's see what happens now. Also a feature I haven't seen on any. Whoa. Or shutter speeds if you're doing photography. Also a feature I haven't. Smooth. Nicely done. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone who helped with that cut. You just opened a new world to me in DaVinci Resolve. Thank you. All right, it is time to call it for today. Thank you so much for your help today. I hope you learned something, or if not, you definitely helped me. Thanks. Get out there and make some great sound. We'll talk to you again next week. Bye.